Welcome to the Extra Mile.
Welcome, folks. Great that you're here.
Welcome, everybody. I'm so glad, Puria, to be back with you, to be with our audience. It's a beautiful Sunday when we are recording this.
Yeah, same here. I'm super excited.
All right, so we have a lot prepared for you today. I will go through some principles of outcome-based live creation, something that I'm really focusing on, or that I have been focusing on for a few years already. Puria, what's from your side?
Yeah, today I brought a deep dive on OpenClaw because this completely changed my business life, and I want to share this immediately with everyone so that everyone can try this out and get this effect of having your Agentic team around you, because they are helping me a lot and I'm getting so much more done, and it's just not like, fluff. It's real work getting done, and I really love this.
Okay, this is amazing. I experienced your agents yesterday, so I'm really looking forward to learn myself, but also to share this with the audience. Yeah, in addition to that, I think I have some stories to share from builder moments from the last weeks that meant a lot to me. From a little bit the momentum right now. Last Thursday we had a big release with Codex. And I think you've tried a lot of this already yourself. And the things that I've shared on LinkedIn in the last weeks, what is behind all of this and why I'm sharing this. So yeah, we have a lot today.
I also got into this event from Steven Bartlett. So we were just recently talking about it. I also want to share a bit about it.
All right. Personally, I'm super excited to hear about OpenClaw. But maybe before you start, how are you doing, Puria? And how are things?
Thanks for checking in. Yeah, thank you so much, Tilman. I'm doing great right now. And one thing which also helped me to kind of, get back into my 100% flow, maybe 110%, was one of the recent conversations we had, because it's been now over 2 weeks since I didn't consume news around everything I was telling in the previous episodes. I'm fully back into my own lane. I'm fully back into AI advancements, building Cocoduro, working on pumping code, and it feels so good. So I'm fully back in my energy, and also great things happening in my personal life. So my biggest release is yet to come this summer. And so really great. How is it on your side?
Yeah, things are great. It's always like a mix of a positive overwhelm and then finding the moments to calm down and reflect. Yeah, as things are getting very, very busy, I'm seeing at the same time that AI is taking over a lot of work. I see kind of a supportive team around me. I feel this overall momentum. I think that we are building as an industry. I think us, our customers, friends, support us. There is so much change and transformation in this time. And what really keeps me energized, of course, these are my habits, but it's also the people around me. And somehow how the people in the technology are coming together. So this keeps me energized, and a few more things. Maybe to start with, yesterday I posted a video from priming. So I love doing this on a Saturday morning. I went for a run, I sat down on my bench, on one of my favorite benches, and I did the priming exercise. So it's very fast breathing, then feeling gratitude, again breathing and feeling the energy flowing through the body, visualizing the future, and then thinking of a few moments that I'm proud of. This whole thing takes 17 minutes, but after that, it's like, it's the most incredible feeling. And I was so in the flow, I recorded myself, and then I posted this yesterday. A LinkedIn post on a Saturday afternoon, how many views can you get? And I think for my conditions, it went quite viral. And I'm super, super happy about this, because this priming, it means so much for me. These 17 minutes yesterday in the morning, first of all, they were one of the most beautiful moments yesterday. And this leveled up my entire day, the entire 24 hours. And I feel so energized now when I speak about it. Yeah, I really want to encourage you to try out priming. You go on YouTube, you type in priming from Tony Robbins. Sometimes I instruct this myself in workshops, but if you want to do this every day, just check out the video and just do the exercise and feel the magic. And just in case the first time you do it, it takes you some time to get into it, be a bit patient and be kind to yourself. The more often you do this, the more you get into the flow. Yeah, so that's something I really wanted to share with you, because it means a lot to me.
You can feel it. You can feel it that it means a lot to you. And so cool that you just went out, share it with your audience in LinkedIn. I really loved it. And I'm a huge fan of, this openness, being authentic, because the authentic side of you is so amazing. And the more we can see of it, you're inspiring so many people. And also with this technique of priming, it's really great. And I think myself, next time for the next episode, I will do a priming session before, and then let's see like what will happen to me. So the episode's gonna be even better. Today is without priming yet, so next time is plus priming. And one thing, like I think last year you told me for the first time about priming, and then I tried it out, and it was so cool because like also this product symposium we did together, this was one of the things I had in priming in my mind. The other one was like having this global brand with pumping code, reaching out to students globally. And both of them turned true. I would say priming is never a one-to-one mapping, but it really is like your North Star. And then when you look back, you can see how far you came with it, and also like how I would say God and the universe is supporting you on your path. You get the right people to work alongside as a team. And so I'm really thankful that I learned this from you firsthand back then, and so good that you share it now with a broad audience.
Yeah, and it's also about enjoying the journey, feeling this gratitude, because when you feel gratitude, you are rich. No matter what the circumstances are, if you find those things that you can be grateful for, then you can have the richest life, the most intentional and richest life.
You wanted me to start telling a bit how I got there, or do you have like maybe an opener question?
Yeah, well, my opener question or story is, yesterday we were talking about the podcast in general, and you gave some instructions to your agents. You told me their names. And of course, that made me curious. And then, you actually told me that you have 2 agents running on OpenClaw. They are connected with OpenClaw. They are connected with Codex. One is for technical things. One is like an administrative assistant. And in those last 24 hours, I already experienced how these agents got things done. And I'm incredibly curious about this. So maybe just take it from there and tell us about your agents.
Yeah. Sure. So let's definitely do that then with this approach. So I start with the end result, and then I will tell a bit how I got to this end result. So currently I have now 2 coworkers. One of them is Andy. I call him my CTO. Then I have Charles, my chief of staff. And initially I started only with Charles, and then I added Andy. And now I'm also thinking about onboarding Jamie today, who will purely focus on research and development. Now what they can do, so as Charles and Andy are already working now continuously, they are shipping for me now valuable products. So the first one is that Charles is handling my calendar. Charles is handling my emails. Charles is also available via Telegram and via email. So I can just ping Charles via email, tell him, hey, I got this information. Can you research about it? Write me a draft and then ping me back. If something is super urgent, I just ping him on Telegram. He can also reach out to me in both channels. So Charles can write me an email. I told him whenever it's a longer thing, write me an email. Whenever it's a short message, go with Telegram. So, cloning the human behavior also in these interactions with him. And he has also access to different types of tools. Same goes for Andy. And difference with Andy is fully focused on developing code. So he's, for example, helping me now with my next blog post on stateful MCP servers on Agent Core. So he built the blog post draft. He used, for example, documentations from AWS, and then also created the code repository. And for the code repository, he is using Codex as tool. Even he's actually using the Codex LLM under the hood. I find that somehow funny. But this is an inception effect. And the code coming out is really good. There is not much review work I have to do. I'm doing review work, so this is something I want to highlight here. I'm now polishing this philosophy for myself. So I think it's important to tell others that you have an AI team around you to communicate that properly. But also it's really important that whatever product gets outside to the world, so in my case, a product is, for example, a Udemy course, or it's a blog post or a LinkedIn post, or even the preparations for our podcast. These types of things for me still need human in the loop. Nevertheless, I have also like review processes of the agents themselves, but I think it's really important when you put it out, it should be evaluated by yourself. So it's a brand that you're representing and you want to keep the trust. So this is something that's important. But at the same time, the point I want to make is we can be open about that we are using AI, and we should embrace it, and it should be just a normal thing, not like feeling bad about that you created content with the help of AI and then trying to hide it. I would say this is not in 2020 way we should be transparent with each other. So I want to change this. So I'm going also to communicate Charles and Andy's existence to the world on LinkedIn. People don't know yet how they look like. This is maybe also a cool thing to mention. So when I was showing this to my wife and showed her like, hey, the folks are now on Telegram and I'm chatting with them. And she was like, yeah, why don't you give them avatars? And I mean, from a product management perspective, I know that like many ISVs, attach also now avatars to their agents. But for me personally, normally like I'm a tech-driven guy. I wasn't like thinking about this, but then I was like, yeah, sure, sounds funny. Let's try it out. So now we have Charles. He typically wears a suit. Like if some of you saw the show Suits on Netflix, he's a Harvey Specter type of guy. And then we have Andy, who is a typical CTO with an Apple Watch on and a white shirt.
Let's see how the culture in your agentic organization is going to develop. Maybe one day Charles is going to take off the suit. So this is great. I mean, in this case, you also get a very serious administrative worker into your startup. But I mean, this is the end result, and this is the story, and I think this is super powerful, and it's also, I guess, kind of fun for you to work with them. How did you approach this technically? So what was first? How did you get to this idea, and how did you do the integration?
First off, I have to say, when OpenClaw came out, I immediately installed it, tried it out. Back then, I ran it on my MacBook. And back then, I felt like I don't need this. So I tried it out. Also, back then, it kind of just didn't show me the benefit, right? And then I also researched on the security aspects. This was also something I was sharing here in our podcast, like back then what the statistics was. And then I was like, I don't need it. I have like projects, I have my skills definitions and so on. This already does some work for me. So I pushed it back. And then when I started to work like on 2 projects, with this agentic grocery shopping project I was sharing here, and then also pumping code, I started to really see that I need help. Like I need like additional workers around me. And currently like my business isn't big enough so that I can hire people. But then I was thinking that I have like the technical know-how to build these AI co-workers around me. Why aren't I using that more? And my first initial idea was, okay, so I don't want that to happen on my MacBook. I want to have a additional instance, but I don't want to use OpenClaw. I want to use Codex, and Codex has these automations where you define your prompts and skills. You can define the schedule. And then I thought, I just create as many automations as needed, and then this is gonna work anyways. So what I did is then I took pen and paper, designed my agents, what I want from them, what their roles should be, and then I screenshotted it, gave it to Codex, and then asked it, hey, create me all automations necessary for that to make it work. Codex did a good job, created, I think, around 9 automations. So one of them was an email triage. So this was the entry communication between me and Charles. So he was the first agent back then as well. Created the Soul MD for Charles, created the Tools MD. So created also like these types of identity and skill descriptions for him. So there was kind of a Charles back then as well. But the thing was, the limitation was that everything was bound to these automations. And for example, the email triage was running every hour. So I could write him, he did the job, and then came back 1 hour later. And I started to realize that I'm not using the full potential here. And then I thought, sure, I'm still skeptical about OpenClaw, but I also then listened to a few podcasts. I can also highly recommend Lenny's newsletter podcast. He has also very exciting guests over there. I will also add the podcast episode, which I listened to, which also empowered me to give this a second chance. And then I thought, okay, I install OpenClaw and I just try it out. And then I make a second guess about it. And then I installed it. And what was great is then I also found out that the Codex authentication is possible. So I could reuse my Codex subscription. And then I spinned up Charles and connected Charles to Telegram and copied over all the prompts I had in the Codex automations. Some of them turned into cron jobs. So these are reoccurring jobs. And what was good is the cron jobs in OpenClaw are super flexible. So you can run them also every minute if you want to. Nothing recommended, because if you have a lot of them running every minute, it's not so good for your performance. But for the emails, I started with a 5-minute interval, but I changed it also at a later point. I will get to that, how I improved it. But then I had like daily research as a cron job. I had daily planning as a cron job. So looking at my calendar, finding out if I have sweet spots where we can either reschedule or better find a planning which helps me to focus on my highest priorities. This was a challenge I always have and had, and it's getting much better now with child support. So to really, help me to focus on the most important things, to use my time better. And then I pushed some of the automations into Heartbeat, such as the email triage, because the Heartbeat is now a reoccurring thing where the emails are just checked frequently. So Charles just answers me immediately now, no matter if it's email or Telegram. Yeah, and then what was great was tools, which I added and so on. But yeah, we can go through it now step by step. But this is like how I got into back into OpenClaw.
Okay, this is great. And also I think there needs to be this motivation or this trigger. And for you, it was the Lenny's podcast episode Maybe for many of you, it's this extra mile episode that makes you want to go the next step or the extra mile with your OpenClaw. You had your Codex subscription, you had OpenClaw, and then you basically brought those primitives together. How did you particularly make this integration? How did you integrate the different pieces and make sure that they can interact? Where did you, for example, connect your Gmail inbox? Where did you connect your calendar? How do the connections work? And what do people do really to get started? Which version of OpenClaw are you using? Are you using it in the CLI, for example?
Yes. So I started definitely with a CLI of OpenClaw. And I have also to say, like, the setup nowadays is very clean. Back then it was a bit irritating and a lot of clicks here and there. Nowadays it's super clean, straightforward, and also less steps. So less friction, definitely. So it takes really under 5 minutes. Back then, for some, it took even multiple hours, especially for non-tech personas. And which is totally fine, right? So to defend you here as your lawyer, because I was even super frustrated. But yeah, nowadays it's super easy. So use the CLI. I would also recommend the CLI. Yeah, then it's important to just take the time and set up the OAuth flow. But it's also really opening up your browser automatically. So you just log into OpenAI, close the browser, continue in the terminal. Then it asks you, and this is now going to the Gmail and Google Calendar connectors. So OpenClaw has around 30 plus plugins out of the box. One of them is GOG. So GOG is helping you to connect to Gmail and Google Calendar and the Google Workspace suite. And I used that one. There were a few more. So one of them is, for example, a web fetcher, a web search, and then I think one is for shell execution. So also definitely take the time, just read through it. You can just scroll. These are 30 items. And whenever you see something meaningful, just press enter. And this is super important. So don't skip that, because you anyways need to activate that later on to have a meaningful agent, especially with OpenClaw. And one thing that I also learned from Lenny's from this episode in Lenny's newsletter was that they were also using delegations as a pattern. And I really love that approach, because it's really about the same mechanisms that we have in a human-only organization, that you also create dedicated accounts for your agents. And then if you want them to access your, for example, calendar, use, for example, inside Google the delegation. So from, for example, my Puria calendar, I have delegated the access to Charles' calendar. So he has his own, but he can also open my calendar and edit things in there. And this is a super clean setup then.
So let me pause here for a moment. So your agents have their own Google Mail account. They have their own calendar, and you gave them access to your calendar. Can you do that with a free version of the Gmail suite?
I think this might be a problem, because whenever you create a new Google account, but it's a solvable problem, maybe to mention here. When you create a new Google account, you need a unique mobile number, which isn't registered yet with Google. So as some of us are now also getting additional phone numbers, for example, for a WhatsApp connector with OpenClaw, this might then be already resolved. Then you can use that phone number. I'm using currently Google Workspaces, so then, yeah, it wasn't a problem. So I didn't need the mobile number. But yeah, I would definitely recommend to create these unique accounts per agent.
Okay, great. So they have their own, say, Google account. And I think they also have their own personalities, but it's running with one OpenClaw instance. Is that right? Do they have their individual sole MDs?
Yes. They have separate Soul MDs. They run on a single Mac Mini instance. And I also heard, like, typically you can run up to 3 or 4 agents on a single instance, and that seems to work stable. So that's why I just started with 2, and now I'm adding 3, and then I will evaluate the performance and see how stable it is.
And you also have different and separate Telegram chats with them, right?
Exactly.
Yes.
And this is super cool. And also here my recommendation is, so one mistake I did, I also want to share my mistake so that folks that are repeating it can save some time. I created Charles, and then I thought, okay, I want to be lazy and I just want Charles to create the next agent for me. He did, but it led to some irritations, because then Charles and Andy, the second agent, had separate Telegram accounts, but their chats were kind of the same. So it was always Charles on Telegram. No matter to whom I wrote, I had the feeling it's Charles responding. And then I did some checks and I saw, yeah, it's just Charles. So it's not connected to Andy. And I had to do some debugging. And there is a much easier way to do that, or a cleaner way. So just exit the agent chat in the terminal. There is an OpenClaw command in the terminal to add a new agent. just use this one. It will feel like a new onboarding of an agent, but also takes just 5 minutes. But in this one, you can then select Telegram as a channel. You need, by the way, a Telegram token for your bot. I'm using the bot father on Telegram. This is super useful to create these tokens. Copy over the token, and then it's by design separated. Otherwise, you need to debug and then go into a JSON file, modify it, and it took me some time that you can actually save by just going the official flow and doing this on your own instead of the agent doing it for you.
To make it simple, how do you prompt this in the OpenClaw chat in the browser?
Yes.
How do you prompt this?
Yeah, so we can add it to the description, and out of my mind, it is OpenClaw agent add and then the name of the agent, or it's OpenClaw add agent and then the name of the agent. So, but it's a very simple prompt. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, one thing I'm very, very curious about is, say, one of your agents is doing technical work. So researching about something, maybe reading blog articles, then building something, creating a GitHub repo, pushing something, testing it. And you instruct this via Telegram or via an email, right? And it builds it, it comes back. Now, how does the connection work? So how does it get from OpenClaw to opening or to launching a session in Codex to creating a GitHub repo and connecting this? Well, yeah, of course, your computer is connected. But anyway, how do the connections work?
Yeah, it's a very good question. So what I did is anyways, Charles and Andy are running on the Codex GPT 5.4 LLMs. I kept Charles out of the coding space. So Charles is using the LLM. And also what I realized is at the beginning, I wasn't thinking about the thinking configuration, and both of them were on low. And I saw like first results coming out and I was like underwhelmed. And then I realized, oh man, I totally forgot this one. So there is a /think and as well /thinking. Both is the same. Press that one in the chat and put it to at least medium or high, and you get much better results. This was important. And then back to your initial question, for the coding part, so what I did is for Andy, I'm using the Codex CLI, and Andy is using the Codex exec command. And with that, Andy, even using the same LLM, is still handing over the coding to the Codex agent. Without knowing the technical details under the hood, I have still the assumption that there must be some polishment around in how the Codex CLI is working. Therefore, I'm trusting it more, so to create the code instead of purely the OpenClaw agent. Yeah, so Andy is then kind of observing what Codex is doing. There is also an integration with ACP protocol between Codex and your OpenClaw agent. Currently, I'm not using this one, but it's also in my bucket list to try that out as well.
Very cool. And just to give you one example, and I would love to get your perspective on this. So in Lumina OS now, you can always submit feedback in the web app, in the mobile app. And this feedback, of course, goes into a database. And I have an automation running. It regularly fetches the feedback and prepares fixes or prepares exemplary builds. And then I sometimes go into it and say, yeah, this is great. Just implement this and push this. What are your thoughts now with OpenClaw? How could you even improve that process?
Yes, I think you could, for example, so first off, things are now intervening with each other, right? So we have now the Codex desktop update. This one is also now super great in reading the GitHub pull request comments. So this might be a trigger point, or you could have a automation in there, but you could also use OpenClaw. And I think one way could be the cron jobs. So to regularly check for that feedback, or even a heartbeat. So if you want to be like as efficient as possible, then like as soon as the feedback comes in, it gets into the task queue of your OpenClaw agent, and then it's just working on that task. And then it could ping you on Telegram and tell you, hey, I'm done. If you want, try it out and check it out, for example, on the dev stage. And then you can try it out there and then tell it, yep, dev stage was fine. Now deploy it further to, I don't know, pre-production or then to production.
It's very exciting. You know what I actually realized? I reflected about it this morning when I went for a run. Now, weekend or every week, we are making so huge and massive progress with the models, with the capabilities, bringing different technologies together in unique ways, just as you did it. I think when our leadership communicated in a public town hall that we are going to basically automate knowledge work very, very fast, that we are going to make huge progress in Q1. Right now we are at beginning of Q2, and it's just real. It's just real. In some ways, this capability gap of the value that we are realizing, it's closing, but quite fast. And yet, I think right now it's still mostly to a smaller number of individuals that are understanding the technology very well. So, of course, what we are doing at OpenAI is we want to close this capability gap. on the one hand by educating people. And I think you and I, we are also doing this education, which is super crucial. And of course, at the same time, by making these technologies and features more and more easy to use, which is basically a way of democratizing the technology. And maybe that's a good transition to the Codex release that we had last Thursday. Is there anything else you want to share regarding OpenClaw?
It's really valuable to share it. So what I also found out is that skills are super important now in OpenClaw, but as well in your Codex consumption, or even now if you want to build your own agents. We see that as a production pattern. So it's not like something business users are recommended to use. This is now the pattern now for production ready agents. And for my OpenClaw agents, I'm iterating on the skills with them. So for example, when it comes to research, they created the first iteration. I looked at the research results, and research in my context means like daily news scanning and then creating this for me in an Obsidian format. I'm, by the way, using this LLM Wiki approach from Andrej Karpathy. And this really helps me to be laser focused and learn each day. By the way, we had the episode with Felipe, who also shared like how much time he's investing in reading. And I'm trying to adapt it also more and more for myself. So I use Charles' research, read every day the Obsidian notes he creates for me. And he gets better in that through the skills. So I give him feedback, like structure it better in this way, or there were like technical nuances you missed. Better go dive deeper into them because they are crucial. We need to learn them and understand what is going then on there. And one last point is also try to find out the deltas. So what did change from yesterday to today? Or for example, there was this Agents SDK announcement from OpenAI. What was the difference to the previous version? Just don't tell me what it is now, but tell me the delta, because now I'm learning daily with you. So I need just to know the new stuff and not like a repeated stuff that is anyways known.
This is such a leadership thing now. So we are speaking about AI mindset and leadership because, right, also if you lead an employee, you got to take the time and give them feedback. Look at what they delivered, give them feedback. And in this way, the skills they are improving day by day. So I think that's an incredible sharing. And also, again, big kudos to Felipe, who shared the book recommendation list with the audience broadly. Felipe went for the extra mile, so a huge thank you to Felipe. And there are also a few more titles on that list that I haven't read yet. So I'm very excited about this.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Felipe. This was amazing commitment and well delivered.
All right, Puria, this is so inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing your OpenClaw use cases with us. And I think you are also just starting with this, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's so much more going to come.
This is going to grow, and I'm going to share the story here in the podcast and keep you updated. Yeah. So far, I'm really happy.
And I'm glad your startup is growing, you know, from 2 people to now a whole team already.
Yeah, I'm also happy now to have the folks. I mean, maybe one thing I want to share as well is, for me, it's not about just having AI only startups. Also as coworkers, I'm really, looking forward to have also human employees at some point, but we need to be tactical. And even like when I looked at my Codex usage, I'm shipping product every day, but still like there's so much potential. And I'm also not like, I don't want to recommend just to burn tokens, but I want to recommend like to really take pen and paper, think about what else is missing for you to ship more value, or what else is missing to help you focus more in this second quadrant of the Eisenhower matrix, right? So long term, but not urgent, and try to take your time for that. And this is what I'm trying myself. And I'm seeing improvements in my self-management, in the management of the business outcomes. So yeah, it's a huge potential and one of the best things we have as of today. So we should definitely use that.
And I agree with you, by the way. I want to work with people. It's so fun. It's so cool to work with people on the fun things, on the great things, but even on the more annoying stuff, I could say. If you work on it with somebody, it's fun. If it's teamwork, it's fun, right? So yeah. I think with AI we can have much more impact, but it's so enjoyable to work with people, and I don't think this is going away. So it's super important for me, and it's really on my heart for me to share with you some principles about outcome-based live creation. When I first learned about the concept, I think I briefly teased this last time. I had heard about different time management systems from David Allen, getting things done, or some principles from Stephen Covey, prioritizing the right things. But for a long time, I felt like, okay, my daily actions, they are somehow not connected with what I really want. And my to-do list, they got longer and longer and longer. And sometimes I felt like a mess, like this huge to-do list. I'm not getting the things done. And somehow I'm not moving towards my outcomes. So through those questions that I asked myself, and also speaking about this with my coach, being curious, continuing to research, I found this concept. And this concept, it also has been out there for a long time. And when you hear about this concept, you will say, yeah, this makes sense. It's kind of logical. But oftentimes these things are super logical. I once wrote a book about this. It's called Success Fundamentals. So check it out on Amazon. However, there will be a second version of Success Fundamentals this year. I'm also thinking of I'm thinking of a new title, actually, a new title. Anyway, this is also about fundamental principles that are just out there, like the daily priming. But oftentimes people just don't take the time to use them. So I want to share with you some principles about outcome-based life creation. And if you just pick out a few of them, it can make a huge difference. Are you ready?
I'm so ready. I'm so ready. You can't believe it. And I'm also like super excited, as you said, how it changed things for you, right? So how it helped you to get closer to your outcomes.
So yeah, super happy to share this with you now, and feel free to ask any questions. So I want to share with you the philosophy, making it very simple, the philosophy about outcome-based life creation, some principles about it, and how you can put it into a daily and weekly practice. So first of all, I think what we all want, and what we have, but what we maybe want more of, we want to have clarity on what matters most. We want to focus on what matters most. We also want to align our daily actions with our life vision. And this doesn't all have to be career or tech or AI related. No, we have those different life categories, and they are all important. It's this wheel of life with different areas of life. And we want to align our actions with our vision, also for our family, for our friendships, for the connection with ourselves. We also want to have this mental space for creativity and for presence. And we want to have sustainable energy, right? So I think with energy is the key ingredient. With energy, you can do the right things. You can get up, you can make that phone call, you can approach that beautiful stranger, whatever it is that you want to do. And of course, we want the 10x results with a greater fulfillment, right? So we want to really appreciate the life at its fullest, whatever that looks like for you, right? Each one in their individual way, and this may also change over time. So the 3 principles to really keep in mind for an outcome-focused life is, first of all, have the results focus. What do I really want? And continuously ask yourself the question. Even when sometimes things can get busy and there could be a million things, but what do I really want? What's really the outcome? When you are clear on that and continuously ask yourself the question, then answers will come. And then it will be more and more clear what you want to achieve. But also it's important to connect with this outcome, right? We spoke about priming, so visualize this. And then ask yourself, why do I want this? So what is the purpose? So whatever it is that comes to your mind now, what is the real purpose for me? Because purpose is ultimately what makes you get up early in the morning, what makes you speak with the right people around it, what makes it really enjoyable. Then it doesn't feel like work, then it feels really like mission. If there's a clear purpose, it's even in personal relationships. If there's a real purpose there, that makes such a big difference. Then having a clear map. So what actions do I have to take to get there? What are the most important actions? Not any actions, what are the most important actions? So having an outcome, a clear purpose, and taking the right actions. And I think state is an answer to a lot of questions. What stops people oftentimes from taking the action? It's the state. It's definitely the state. So conditioning the state helps you take actions consistently. Any questions so far before I go even deeper?
Yeah, so I have a question, and this is like tightly connected to my experience at this event I was recently with Steven Bartlett. By the way, this is a very funny story, but I keep it short because this is what we're talking about. It's much more important. But what he was sharing there was like, he also brought this mission approach and purpose, but he was a bit more, I would say, analytical. So he also like recommended, especially in a business environment. So now I'm not talking about the personal environment, but in a business environment, to not romanticize the business idea and to be very tactical, data-driven, and then, maybe create this map that you discovered really based on the data and not like only on this romanticizing idea of I need to open a coffee shop because I love espresso. I know everything about espresso and that's why I need to open it up. So what's your view on it? Because what you present here is still like the purpose is much more important, and also like this personal question of what do I really want? And I have the feeling as well, like the first 2 points you said still come first, and the tactics still can be, of course, super data driven and so on.
Super interesting question. And by the way, later I'm curious to hear more about your dinner, about your experiences there. So I think purpose is something we can create. So I can decide that the coffee shop is my purpose. Why could I want to have a coffee shop? Because maybe I have the best quality coffee and create an experience for people. People are coming in and their day is changed. They go in there, they come out there with such a good feeling. Maybe it's a social spot where people are encouraged to interact. It's a place where people can also focus. Maybe it's very inclusive and it's for business people, but also for families. So I could connect this coffee shop with so many things that are really, really meaningful. And even if it's just about this moment of somebody enjoying that espresso, which is to me one of the many beautiful moments of the day when I enjoy my espresso. And then equally, I could say, all right, I want to reach a lot of people with technology. I want to reach a lot of people with trainings that I do on a stage. And the outcome could be a similar one. I want to inspire people. I want to touch people. I want to help people. I want to enjoy this human interaction. You can do that in a coffee shop. You can do that somewhere else. And there could also be more what about a finance job? I think even a finance job, I think most of the companies out there, there is a strong and a good purpose. There is an impact that these organizations want to make. In some cases, I have stronger opinions. For example, to me, it's super healthy to produce healthy things. Personal health and well-being. This is very important for me. But I think most of the companies out there, there is that the people can really connect with. And then it's also about the personal purpose. So why do I go to work? Yeah, it's not just to get some money, but maybe I also can enjoy the moment there. Connect with some colleagues, and I also bring money home, right? So the purpose of feeding my family or the purpose of creating a good life standard for myself. But then it's not only about getting this financial thing, well, the financial wealth and enjoying the process, but also doing the whole thing intentionally. And you spoke about romanticizing. It is, of course, crucial. And this also comes to focus. Even in a coffee shop, right? You got to focus on the customer experience. You got to focus on doing the most important things. I think in each context, in a relationship, you got to focus on this relationship to recreate beautiful moments every time. Love, it's not something you just feel. Yeah, you can feel love. But love is also something you create. So continuously creating the things. And I think this is where the things are somehow coming together.
Yeah, I think this is a very beautiful way to look at it. And it also shows, like, yeah, as you said, they come together. So they are not decoupled, or one of them, if you think or use one of these techniques, it doesn't mean that the other one is obsolete. So it's like the harmony of all pieces coming together. Kind of like a puzzle.
Yes, because I think business has to be beautiful in a way. In 3 weeks, I'm going to a conference that is called House of Beautiful Business. So we speak about, and I'm doing this now for the 3rd time, basically how can we make the world a better place, and each and everybody in their own way, but also how can we make business more beautiful? And I think no matter which industry, which company, we want to make business beautiful.
Yeah, and as you said, like the customer experience, to focus on it, right? Because if you do that, it's not romanticizing anymore, because you really work backwards from your customer and can lead to a successful business, but still not giving up this can be romanticized, right? This romanticized vision of your business that you want to realize and bring it to the real physical world and make it succeed.
And I think each organization can have it. And it's important, of course, to attract talent, but also maybe to be relevant in the long term. Because as a lot of things get commoditized, what matters is having good people in the team. People who are curious, people who are sincerely good and who want to create good things. Because just creating something for the purpose of money, I don't think it's going to be very sustainable, especially in the future.
Yeah, really good points. And now I'm really curious what the additional techniques are.
All right. So we spoke about it's important to focus on, to have a clear outcome, to have a clear purpose, and to have defined clear actions, and also to have the state to approach it. I want to say something about time, our relationship to time, because oftentimes people feel this lack of time, like I'm in a rush, I don't have time. So as soon as you switch the perspective on time, like time is abundant, time is beautiful, and time is on my side. It changes the emotional experience to time, and it makes the whole process, the whole journey more enjoyable. So that is another key element. And you can also think of your own way of, or your own menu of ways to feel good. So what are some things that really get you into a good state? It could be to just get some fresh air. It could be just to listen to a specific song, some music, or just taking 10 breaths. So how do you put yourself into a good state? What is your own menu to feel good? Because that's a part of it, because then you get into the state where you can do the things that matter a lot to you. Part of this, when I'm telling this, coaching this, it's also about, again, the time matrix and how to spend more time in this area of fulfillment, right? Where the things are important but not urgent. Another way to look at this is being in your circle of influence. So you gave us a very powerful example about that at the beginning, how there are oftentimes difficult things happening around, and I think it's important to acknowledge them. It's important to speak about it and to do something or to take some actions. At the same time, it's important not to only focus on it and to mostly focus on what is really in the own circle of influence. So what is the impact that I can have? What is the impact that I can have to make the world a better place, instead of only looking at the negative things? So what is in my circle of control, and how can I consistently get into the state that I can influence those things? So all of this is kind of a preparation, I would say, to the 7 principles of outcome-based life creation.
So, I mean, one way is to keep your state high. Another way is to protect your state and your time in a meaningful way, because there will be definitely always things coming in between which want to derail you. So what would you recommend there to not get derailed and to really stay connected to your purpose, to your mission? And this will also help you then to progress forward towards your outcome that you're aiming, or your outcomes. I mean, it doesn't have to be a single thing.
I would say have your safe zones. The safe zones that you revisit every day, every week. There will be, or there might be situations when you speak with people who are not in such a positive state, right? But they may need your help in that moment. And they may need you to meet them where they are, which means you temporarily go into a lower state and just meet them where they are. But then build this connection, right? And try to help them get into a more energetic state again. But I think the flexibility throughout the day, right? Because we do want to meet people where they are, but we also want to uplift people. So the flexibility is important, and especially the safe zones. Because no matter in which state I am temporarily, if I know exactly, and I know that subconsciously, soon I will do this, I will do that, in the morning I do the priming. Yeah, I just know that the great moments are going to come. And it's this anticipation, which is such a good feeling. It's at least as good as the feeling in the moment, anticipating the moment. Yeah, so create your safe. Yes.
This is a great recommendation, like your anchors. And I think you also once shared it here. For example, you go for a run, and like whenever you do that, you always have a better state afterwards, and it really helps you to get into that moment.
Great question. And now I would go into the 7 principles of outcome-based life creation. And each of those is so meaningful by itself. So the first one is the power of language. And by the way, I want to recognize Tony Robbins, because a lot of the content of this particular thing comes from Tony Robbins. So Tony is coming to Cologne again in September, and I will be there unless something big comes in between. But I went 2 times already to UPW, Unleash the Power Within, and both times it was life-changing in terms of my personal insight, but also the people that I've met. And it's, I would say, for what he offers, it's quite affordable. Yes, so recognizing Tony Robbins, and it would be great, Puria, to have you there.
Try to be there, and maybe we can do an extra mile meetup there for the ones who really want to come.
I love this idea. I really love this idea. So let's do this. And now let's get into the 7 principles. So the first one is the power of language. And just be aware that words produce emotions. And just imagine you think about something, okay, I have to do this. How does that feel? Versus when you say, I choose to do this. I get to do this. And let's be honest, most of the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, or that we do, you have a choice, right? And just recognize that choice in the language that you use. I choose to do that. But it's also about words you use on a day-to-day basis. When I ask you, Puria, how are you doing? And you say, oh, I'm okay. Versus when you say, I'm great, I'm fantastic. I woke up and I thought, wow, life is such a gift. So you see the difference, and it's just about the words. Of course, also the way we pronounce them, but words make a huge difference. So imagine a school teacher. They could call themselves a disciplinarian, or they could call themselves like a developer of the human spirit, really recognizing their role and their importance in the society. So words make a huge difference. So think of it. What are some words that you frequently use, and how could you maybe use certain words that bring positive emotions more frequently. And also with the different outcomes that you have, or the different roles, or the different life categories. Use beautiful words for those. So this is number one.
I really love that one. Yeah,
yes.
And there is also like a lot of metaphors in different cultures, but they all like come to this conclusion that like words are things that are hard to take back again. And yeah, it's super good then to be conscious about it. And also like in my origin, like in the Persian culture, there is also this metaphor of good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. So they're all interconnected. And if you're conscious about our thoughts, but also keeping our inner health in a good state and also our mind in a good state, we will automatically produce much better thoughts. And I mean, we see that even with AI. AI nowadays starts with reasoning and then produces the results. And we can do the same for ourselves. And this will lead to better deeds. And the deeds are interconnected to the outcomes we're aiming for.
There's such a beautiful perspective you now brought to this. So yeah, it's a lot about language, right? And choosing the right language because it has such a big impact. And even the way you speak with AI. On Friday, we had this AGI moment in the office because a colleague built this thing where you can draw something. Well, first of all, the computer draws something and then you can guess it with natural voice interaction. And it was super, super fun. Like Max and I, we said, flower, flower. And then, no. And then another person said, rose, it's a rose. Yes, it's a rose. So that was just great. And then the AI, so Codex it gave us a word and we had to paint it. But the other AI didn't know what it was. And then it had to guess. Someone created a fish and we guessed the fish correctly. And then we were celebrating and then we said, yeah, let's go. And then the AI said, let's go.
Oh, that's so
It
beautiful.
was just super, super funny. And now imagine the AI would have said in a very unemotional way, yeah, okay. Oh.
Let's go.
Yeah,
let's go. Check.
Or even not say
true.
Yeah, exactly. So the emotional tone of saying something and also the choice of words, it's fantastic.
It's really powerful. Yeah.
Yes.
And what are the other ones? So I think there are 6 more. Yeah.
Yes, we have a few more. So the next one is the power of, I think the power of a life plan with a whole wheel of life. So there are different life categories. For example, it can be the physical body. It can be the meaning, the emotions for me. It can be my relationships to family, but also to a loved person or to friends, so all the relationships, or to colleagues. And then time, how I look at time, this is also a category of life. Or work, career, mission, this is another area of life. And finances, and then this category to celebrate and contribute. So in each of these life areas, and for each of us the life areas are a little bit different, but having a clear vision and purpose for each of those life areas, it is so crucial, and also connecting with them frequently. For me personally, because in some periods of my life, I focus a lot on very specific things. But when I connect with all the areas in my weekly reflection, then I do connect with my vision, with my purpose, with my heart, with all of those life areas, and I feel connected to them. And I continuously stay in touch with them. And I know that in other times I will prioritize other areas more. And how I say it, how you do one thing is how you do anything. So I will just approach it with as much energy. But I have this certainty that this is going to happen because I have a clear plan. And let me go now through some other areas. So we already mentioned the power of a results focus. And in each of those life areas, having your clear outcome for each of those areas. Like in my physical body, I want to become very, very old, but still be fit and strong so I can play with my grandchildren and contribute to a very old age. So with anything that I achieve personally, it comes a lot down to being healthy. Being healthy, it's so important. But for all of the life areas, I have my standards, I have my outcomes. But also frequently asking myself, what is the purpose? Why do I want this? And I remember back from a coaching session where I said, I want this, I want this. I want one day so many kids. And then the coach asked me, why so many? Why aren't you satisfied with less? And then I thought, yeah, fair enough to ask those questions. But I think in some cases you can just say, I want this because this is so cool, meaningful for me. I just want this. It just feels purposeful for me. You don't always need an explanation. But
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you don't have to always explain the goals that you have if it feels right for you and if it's not harming anyone. So why not aiming for it?
Exactly. Define your purpose and be playful about it. Then the power of mapping. So mapping together, outcome, purpose, and action. And this is actually the 4th principle. The power of leverage, and we also spoke about this. So you are now leveraging your agents to get things done for you. So this is just a very increased power for you. So it's not just 1 + 1 is 2, but 1 + 1 = 5 or 10, because they just don't just get work done for you, but they also give you more mental space. In the teamwork and the collaboration, you can get new ideas. So leveraging other people to help you, getting other people to be part of the team. If you don't have a team, define an idea with a great enough purpose and people will follow. Make it interesting, compelling for them as well, and people will follow. The next one is the power of chunking. So chunking, you can either chunk up or you can chunk down. So chunking down is if you have a high level outcome. Like I want to organize this big, for example, hackathon. If I want to organize this big hackathon. So how can I make it more concrete to make it more feasible for me, but also for others who want to participate? And then there is the opposite of chunking up. There might be those 15 different things. And maybe sometimes all the things, they seem a bit overwhelming to people. But ultimately, it's all about this one outcome. It's all about delighting the customer. So chunking it up, say, okay, my activity is actually to delight customers. I focus on the outcomes, not on these 15 actions. And in this way, I will naturally also find the best ways to get to that outcome. The power of having a clear plan for your life. This is something what I also do in my on-site workshops. This is something I did a lot in seminars and things that I visited. It's just in a meditative state, going into the future and just connecting with it. It's also this idea of working backwards, connecting with the outcome and then thinking, okay, really feeling it, or like we say, feel the AGI, and then just naturally get to the way that brings you there. So having a clear plan and having a life plan, because I always say also in my daily affirmation, life is a gift, life is beautiful. So how can I really appreciate my life? I think enjoying the moment, being grateful, but also having a plan, to me it's also a way of really appreciating it. I have one more thing to share.
Yes, let's go for it. Yeah.
Let's go for it.
You're in a flow. I really feel bad interrupting you now, so it's very enjoyable. Yeah.
The final thing I want to say, or maybe the two final things, is you have these life areas, and as Tony calls them, actually, that he says categories of improvement. And why does he call them that? Well, in these categories, I'm always growing, I'm always moving forward, I'm always making a bigger contribution. It's never static. Because those areas really matter to me, it's constantly somehow improving, which makes it also crucial to connect with the vision, but also to measure the progress. So did I make progress versus where I was 1 year ago, 2 years ago, yesterday? And then just being grateful for the progress instead of seeing the gap. And wonderful ways to do that is, of course, in the daily planning, in the weekly planning, where you really check in with your life categories. I do that like today in my weekly planning. I will do that, reflecting about the week, reflecting about next week. I will be in different cities, visit different customers. I'm really looking forward to that, but I'm asking myself, how can I have the biggest impact? What are things that I definitely want to get done? And then in the daily reflection, thinking of the gains, of the wins that you had every day.
How much time you invest for that? So for these reflections?
So my weekly reflection, it's, I would say, 1 to 1.5 hours. And I do this now with Lumina OS. When I didn't have Lumina OS, I used to do it sometimes with my hands, or I had my Google Doc to do it. Now I have this flow in Lumina OS. These days I'm spending more time because I'm also publishing on LinkedIn my weekly learnings and reflections. So this is an additional one, which I honestly, it's not all AI created. I spent probably 2.5 or 3 hours on to get this blog article out.
Yeah, and I'm reading them, and they are really enjoyable, and you can really feel your energy throughout the week. So keep pushing for it.
Yes.
It's amazing content.
So I know this was a lot of content now, but I also feel like hopefully there is something for you there. Maybe you say, all right, all of those principles, they are all amazing, or maybe there is this one thing or these two things which can make a huge difference.
I would say they are all amazing, and it's really like compact and also like coherent. Sometimes you have like a quick feedback you get on the approaches you take to get towards your outcome. They are like just thinking about a single parameter and how you could structure it. I would say like your approach with outcome-based fulfillment of your life mission or purpose, it's super coherent, and I really love like going through it right now with you. And from like what I've also read in books myself, and if I would try to condense that, I would say there are like so many things you have mentioned here which I haven't heard before. It's really cool. And I have your first book, by the way, here with me. And definitely looking forward for the second version. Yeah, keep us posted. We are waiting.
Yes. And let me share one more thing, because you hear me speak a lot about outcome-based life creation, vision, purpose, extra miles. Yeah, you can also have a coffee with me and speak about something completely different. One of the reasons why I continuously highlight it is because I feel it's so much part of my mission to inspire people, which gets me really into the flow. And I could speak endlessly about this, right? But I could also listen endlessly to stories from other people speaking about this, because this is somehow my mission in this moment, or one of my missions, to give this back.
Yeah, and it's really important to, learn from each other and be always curious what others are going through, how they get there. And of course, people who are in a high state, who keep going, who don't get interrupted and fall for disbelief and then just leave the hero's journey and just, not trusting it until you really get there. I always also like these autobiographies. One of them was from Schwarzenegger, which I really like, but there are so many more. And I'm still looking for new autobiographies coming up and going through them, and most of them are also very honest. You can feel it when someone is not just telling about how great everything was and really get to know the person behind. I think this is also an amazing habit. So, and I think also shared by Felipe last time, you can see many leaders nowadays just don't learn from their closed circle, but are also very open to explore other person's path out there and learn from each other.
I fully agree. And even if somebody gets derailed from the hero's journey, so it's kind of maybe giving up in the moment, or it feels to them like giving up. Ultimately, this is part of the hero's journey, because they will come back. They will come back. Yes.
The meta hero's journey.
Yes.
Encircling the hero's journey within.
Puria, tell us about your dinner with Steven. Tell us about it.
Sure, yeah. I tell you quickly the story behind it. So how did it come up for me? I was going through Instagram on a Friday afternoon, real quick, just scrolling through. And then I saw an advertisement from Steven Bartlett that he's tomorrow night on a Saturday in Frankfurt for a dinner. And then I checked if this is a real ad or if this is a scam. It was a real ad. You have to do this due diligence nowadays.
Yes, of course.
And I checked it. It was posted on his profile as well. So I registered for it, and they had very cool questions, I have to say. So they really wanted to understand how passionate you are about your startup. What would you ask Steven if you had 5 minutes with him? Then also explaining your business idea. You had also to put in your LinkedIn profile. So I did everything real quick, submitted, and then Saturday morning the feedback came that this is confirmed, and then I can go there. I was like, yeah, so cool.
Yeah.
And it was funny because 1 week before we talked with Felipe, and he told us about Steven, that he saw him in Texas on the event, and we were thinking about, let's get Steven onto our podcast. Yeah. Fast forward. So it was in an Italian restaurant here in Frankfurt. So I went there. His team was there. Very, very kind people. Super smart team. And then I was asking them hey folks, how long did you plan this event? And they're yesterday we planned it. I'm no way. So they really moving fast. So I think he had a talk here in Frankfurt area, and I decided let's do a dinner and start his community. And then they ramped up social media advertisements, organized this restaurant with the help of AI, because it was a really good one here in Frankfurt. So it was very well selected. I wanted to know how if they knew someone here from Frankfurt area, but they said it was purely AI research, and it found them this nice Italian restaurant. And then I talked to some participants, and then you could see the proactiveness. There were people from Lithuania. There were people from Sweden, from London.
Wow.
They had the same journey. They saw it Friday night, registered, got the confirmation on Saturday morning, and then just booked a flight and then came for the night to Frankfurt. So amazing people. This was so cool to meet them and feel this proactiveness, just going for it and not having doubts or be why should I register? No, register, try it, and
yes.
Even if it's possible, just go for it and meet other nice people and have a high state. And yeah, it was a really cool experience.
What were some of your most interesting insights or also conversations with other people?
Yeah, so one of them was with a restaurant founder. So here in Frankfurt area, he was previously working as a business analyst in a finance institutions, and then he decided to go for hospitality and then create his own restaurant chain. So he wasn't even a cook himself, but he had the passion and he had somehow somehow also the skills necessary to learn and to adapt. And he had also a good partner. So he started this with his wife. And he told me he, at the beginning with his wife, were working 24/7 in there, cooking and, serving the guests. And they had this vision. They put hard work into it. And now he has like multiple restaurants. He is not in the operations anymore. So he's now scaling. Then I also asked him, hey, do you want to make a chain out of this? And he said, no, because I want to keep my vision with this whole thing. And if I scale too much, then I can't keep the culture. So therefore I grow smoothly. And closing the circle with what we are doing here, he just told me that he's, using Codex and create like the web presence they have. And I was like, but you have like some tech experience, or how does it come? He was like, never. He doesn't know code at all. And he created their website, the fresh version. And it was also impressive, like what he has built. And now you can see it. Something is changing this year. It's really different. 26 is a parallel universe.
Yeah. And because of that website, Steven's team found him, right?
Yeah.
Because of his
exactly.
website, because of Codex, he was there. You were there.
Yeah. And this was like one of the cool persons I met there. There were others. There was one more who has a marketing company. And again, he is also not a tech dude. And he created for a bike shop a website again with AI. And he said it was so cool. So I took AI, and then I had this customer with a bike shop, and they're customizing bikes. And now I built this website which visualizes each customized bike for the customer. And again, he has no tech experience. And he just shipped this.
What was it like to be in the room with all those people? And by the way, there was one reason why I didn't go into a plane or into a train to go there, because I was meeting my best friend last weekend, which we had planned for some time. A lot of things I would have canceled, but not this one. So because I imagine it must be so incredible to be in the room with those people and with Steven, of course, and his team.
Yeah. First off, Tilman, I have a lot of respect for your decision on that, because I think you did exactly the right thing. You have to keep your priorities, not get derailed on your priorities. So I felt it immediately when you said it. And yeah, it was also great to meet Steven. With Steven, it's funny because you can really feel and sense he has all these conversations with all the people he interviewed in his head. He had like so many topics he could talk about, like, I don't know, how humans' brain works, up to business strategy, social media strategy, AI strategy. This was really impressive. Or even people from intelligence, like previous spies he talked to. He knows so much things. And I would say, what I took with me is definitely look at the podcast he put out there, and either take the time to watch them. If you don't have much time, maybe even use AI, summarize it, learn from the content, because it's really valuable. He and his team, I think in the past 7 to 8 years, they interviewed very impressive people and went really into details to understand like their knowledge in their expertise field.
And he's just exposing all this content out there, right? It's all accessible, and probably you could listen to most of the episodes 2 or 3 times. This is one of the beautiful things about our time, that great information is just out there, it's just accessible. And there are mission-driven people like him that are sharing them and that are bringing people together to learn and to come together.
Yeah, and someone asked him this, like, hey, how is it for you with your fame nowadays? How do you feel? Can you still can you feel that you're now so famous? And he said, like, he doesn't even think about it because he has a mission. And
yes, I love it.
I really love that statement.
I love it.
All right, shall we get into Codex?
Let's get into Codex.
Okay, I have a suggestion. Yeah. So each of us can highlight like what you loved most about this Codex update. You can go first if you like. So
first, I want to connect it with a story. Saturday, really on the side, because I did a lot of things on Saturday. I was also outside, and I also do these things, meeting friends. I decided I want an app on my Apple Watch to interact with Lumina OS. So I just prompted it. And actually, we went now through several iterations, and I think it's now pretty solid. I will really get to use it for the first time tonight. So this is one thing I built, and I just felt inspired by the update to do that. Automated a lot of more things in my day-to-day job, where I have agents that are going through the meeting transcripts and collecting the most important follow-ups, but also agents, the Ask Me agent that has access to a lot of tools, who is able to solve a lot of these things. I also created this repository of questions that are hopefully just answered once, because the agent has access to it and can go through these questions. But if there is no answer to it, it should also capture what it is kind of missing. But it should also save best practices in this document. So it's this Q&A document of things that it cannot find in any wiki. So a lot of things it's able to find in wikis, but not all of it. So I have basically this team of agents now running on Codex. I think it's just saving me a lot of time, and it's a massive saving of time. Besides this very proactive work, where it's also working with a heartbeat, where it picks those things up regularly. I have one channel in which I can ask questions, and so I ask these questions, and then it regularly picks it up, answers those questions, and I have certainty that I get a good answer there. So these automations, they make a huge difference. Now I've also started to use the Codex browser, which works amazingly well. It's a whole different experience for building, right? Because it doesn't open an external browser, it's really in the browser. Using more and more plugins. What I'm slowly getting my hands on is the background computer use. Actually, Codex running desktop apps, which is amazing. Give me until the next episode to share some stories around this. And I'm also getting more and more now collecting learnings with the memory, which is, I think, also a really great release. So we are very excited about these new releases of the Codex app.
Yeah, it sounds so inspiring. And I just wanted to ask you, do you have like one or two plugins you want to highlight here? So I think we talked about the Google Docs a lot in the past days, but yeah, if there are some of them you want to share here as well.
I mean, now the computer use, it's very powerful. The playwright skill to open an external browser. You have to log in, but then it can do self-testing. A skill to build an iOS app. This was also very useful for my Apple Watch app. So really go through the plugins, but also create your own plugins, create your own skills. And you can also modify existing skills. So I did this for demo purposes. I said, all right, Codex for knowledge work. And this one plugin, it triggered the creation of a discounted cash flow analysis. So I just have to say, okay, do this for Apple, do this for NVIDIA, for whichever company. It creates a discounted cash flow analysis. It creates a one-pager PDF with an investment overview. It creates a PowerPoint. Then it goes again out to research what could be a strategic partnership with that company, creates a Word document, then it creates an email draft referring to this strategic partnership, putting it into my draft folder, and then notifying me that it's done. This is just one example of how you can really combine those different capabilities to get things done for you locally. And I feel like this is moving really, really, really fast now. Honestly, it's happening faster than I was imagining, and it's my mission now to educate my customers to use these tools in the best possible way to give more people access to them.
Really impressive. And maybe one thing I can add as a highlight is that this browser, the computer use has its own cursor. This is really funny because this is also a brand new pattern. We never had that. And it feels like now you have like two mouses who can move and just you're using one of them. This is really impressive and super useful update. And maybe also this PR comment reaction that it can do. So inside GitHub, if you have like these comments on your pull request, then it can interact with them even better from the Codex desktop app. Previously, it could do it via the GitHub web version, but now it feels like you can just stay in the Codex desktop app more and more and do much more with it without moving back and forth into other tools.
So honestly, I'm most interested to hear from my customers, from the developers who are the real experts in this, how they take use of it. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing their stories as well.
Super exciting times. Yeah, Tilman, thank you so much. It was a great pleasure on this beautiful Sunday. And so wishing you a very good start into next week. We have exciting things coming up now, bringing out the episode with Felipe, and then this episode for sure. And then also our next guests that we are now planning. Anything else you would like to share?
I just also want to say thank you, Puria, for bringing the high energy in here. And I think in the next weeks, we will also hear more about your startup that you're building right now, some really cool stuff that you're working on. I just say, keep on inspiring people, keep on shipping your Udemy courses. They are reaching a lot of people, and keep on sending me and keep on sharing here the things that you built. So with this, I want to wish everybody an amazing week. Approach things with purpose, approach things with a lot of passion, purpose, and just be curious about everything that is about to come, and just think, how can I use them in a way that they make an impact on me, but also on others?
Thank you so much, Tilman. Folks, thanks for joining us, and join us the next time when it's about the
extra mile. Yes. All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.